surprised us. We expected institutional interest to pick up this year, and it certainly has. But the way in which it's picked up has surprised us. I don't think we ever thought there would be broad-based substitution of Bitcoin for cash on corporate balance sheets. So we find that very interesting. If all corporations in the United States were to put, I think it's, yes, 10% of their cash into Bitcoin, that alone would add $200,000 to the Bitcoin price. Now, we obviously do not believe this is going to happen very quickly. We're talking about maybe the equivalent of $900 billion market cap equivalent for Bitcoin. That's less than half the price of the Apples and Amazons of the world. So this has to mature a little bit before broad-based adoption can take place. But we're very reassured that companies like Square and Tesla have chosen to allocate.
Are you concerned at all that there might be some speculative fraud in all of the latest movements, or is this just a reflection of how mainstream Bitcoin is becoming?
I definitely think this is just a reflection of how mainstream Bitcoin has become. And I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg, to be honest. I think at 50K, things are just starting.
So if this is just starting, where does it end? Because, of course, we did see the rally last time around, and that didn't last too long, and what happened wasn't really pretty.
Sure. I think basically, if you look at the last rally, it rallied from the previous peak of $1,000 in 2013, and it rallied through 2015, 2016, and 2017 to 20,000. And then we had a retrace. We had a 3-year bear market, and then now we're back in full bull market again. So, but right now we just passed the previous peak just by a little bit. It's only 2.5x. And right now the fundamentals are much stronger than 3 years ago. We see a lot more users, a lot more institutions coming in, and a lot more inflation happening outside of the crypto industry. We see DeFi taking off, so we see a lot more. There's a lot more activity now in this industry than 3 years ago, and also from the user numbers, we see. I believe the first time I talked with you guys in this channel. We were seeing all-time highs of 300,000 new registered users per day, and now we're sustaining above that peak, sustained on a day-to-day basis. So yes, in 2017 we just saw a peak and then dropped, but now we're seeing sustained volume, new users coming at a faster speed than that. So I think we're just seeing the beginning.
Cici, where do you see as fair value then? Do you have a price target?
So this is the thing about crypto, right? There's no real, there's no fair value. You just got to represent how much wealth that of people using it, or people in the industry. So I think right now, if you look at the market, only 11 listed companies have announced they're holding cryptocurrencies or holding Bitcoin. There's 650,000 companies in the world. So we're just seeing a very small tip. And if you look at the sort of individual holders, I think we're reaching somewhere around 1% adoption globally. So I think there's probably somewhere around 100 to 150, maybe 200 million users in crypto right now. That's just based on a very rough guess. But that's probably less than 1% adoption right now. So we still have, number one, like 10%, 80% to go. Number two, the crypto market should be larger than the fiat market, because with cryptocurrencies, there's a lot more you can do. And there's a lot more use cases that's possible now. So this is similar to Uber's market size is bigger than the taxis. So I think I think it's very clear we're just at the beginning. Things are just starting to, things finally have started rolling.
Well-known investor Jeff Gundlach basically saying on Twitter, quote, Bitcoin may be the stimulus asset, doesn't look like gold is, even though he is long-term bullish on gold. I mean, you must be getting questions from people asking for your opinion on the cryptocurrency craze. You use that word bubble. I'm not sure if you were talking about Bitcoin, but what is your opinion on this appetite for digital currencies?
I think there's this real concern by everyone on how you store your wealth, how you keep value in an environment where everyone is The printing presses are hammering away at a rate that we've never seen before. And there's no evidence of any sort of discipline, fiscal or otherwise. There's paranoia, fear, and a desperation to try and do something to help. And so, right now, I was just sharing the point earlier with somebody else. It's hard there's no long-term visibility, there's no medium-term visibility. There's a lot of money going into the developed world, and there's some real pain coming down the pipe in the global economy. And one thing that's clear is that the world does not manage this pandemic well. And so, investors are confused and anxious, and there's this response trying to offset what is clearly a risk in devaluation, massive devaluation in the traditional ways of investing and retaining your wealth. And one of them is, currencies are not being only depreciating, but you can't really get much out of it when you put that money into the bank. So, right now gold is, many times in my career, people suggested that gold doesn't have real value. It's never worked out that way. It's one of the most consistent performers out of all the asset classes. And I've always said, have you ever seen anyone put their hand in their pocket and pull out a bunch of Bitcoins and hand it over the counter? It doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, I haven't had that experience yet, Mark. We'll see what happens.
About the crypto news, and I want to start with the sand dollar. You're rolling out prepaid cards that can be loaded with the world's first central bank digital currency, the sand dollar of the Bahamas. You will be the only card that supports this. How much volume are you expecting here, or is this more of an experiment?
So the Bahamian government and the central bank there, they launched a central bank digital currency last year. It launched in October. And what is happening now is this is one of the first central bank digital currencies that are live out there. And we're basically providing an ability for a person, a business, anybody in the Bahamas that is owning that digital currency to transfer it into fiat, the real Bahamian dollar, i.e. the physical Bahamian dollars, and start to use it on a Mastercard. That is nothing different than from various other such card programs that we have where other cryptocurrencies can be transferred into Mastercard to be used in a shop to buy a coffee, a pizza, whatever you want to buy with it. So it's not an experiment, it's real. What really is the distinction here, this is the first central bank digital currency that we will transferring into fiat currency versus all other programs that we currently have are actually private sector issued cryptocurrencies.
So what other central banks are you talking to?
There's a whole range around the world that we're engaging with. There was a group of central banks just recently putting out a paper on how central bank digital currency should work. Two-tier concept, making sure that there's a lender of last resort, and commercial banks are coming into the fold to making sure that you can actually effectively distribute this currency. So the leading 7 central banks around the world put together in partnership or with our input rather, a statement on how that should be constructed. So at a given point in time, we have 10, 15 programs in different countries around the world supporting the implementation of such central bank digital currencies, including providing a test facility. So we launched a sandbox where governments can come in and invite banks to test how this will actually work. Because in the end, to bring a utility to consumers, you got to see what does the last mile do. How can I spend in a shop? And that's where we come in. And it was a big announcement that we made at our earnings call 3 weeks ago, where we said, okay, we will actually enable those central bank digital currencies in our network, just like fiat currency.
Now, you've also said you're going to start directly supporting some cryptocurrencies for use in payments later this year. Which cryptocurrencies are we talking about, and are we talking about Bitcoin?
Yes. So Emily, that's an important question. Central bank digital currencies, the nature of that is they're essentially stable coins. They're backed by the country. There's private sector stable coins as well. They're backed by generally deposits. They're logged at commercial banks. That's a type of cryptocurrency that we believe in will bring utility from a payment perspective. We've not made any decision yet which one of those will be, but that category, private sector issued stable coins, is one that we believe will work. We put out principles to decide which ones in the end we will support and which ones not. And the first principle, of course, has to be regulatory compliance. There's this principle on consumer protection, like data privacy, for example. You want to make sure that what comes along with your crypto payment is really the data that only you understand to want to pass along. And then finally, there's an aspect of stability. And stability is guaranteed in the end through the concept of a stable coin because it's backed by an asset. And here's where you come to non-asset backed cryptocurrencies. And you're talking Bitcoin, you talk a range of others. And right now, the lack of stability, fluctuation of prices make them not usable from a payment perspective. So here, there's a problem. Imagine you buy a pizza, and the pizza costs 10 units of a free-floating cryptocurrency, and the price within minutes fluctuates significantly up or down. Your pizza could have been worth $40 or $5. From a payment perspective, that is a problem. From an asset class perspective, that's not a problem, but we're not an investment company. We're the payment company, and we're guaranteeing a payment from a buyer to a supplier. So that is the issue there. What we're doing, therefore, is coming right back to the sand dollar in Bahamas, is we're enabling Bitcoin asset holders to say you transfer at an exchange at one of our partner programs that you can use spend through our network.
So I just want to dig a little bit there on Bitcoin because, obviously your news about being more accepting of cryptocurrencies sometime later this year helped to send Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin up. We just spoke with Nouriel Roubini, well-known economist, who says it is pure speculative, self-fulfilling bubble. This is a pure speculative, self-fulfilling bubble. It doesn't have any income. What is your reaction to that, given what you just had to say about stability?
Yeah, Emily, my view is, I look at this question through the lens of a payment technology company. As I just laid out, it really doesn't bring much utility from a payment perspective because of the fluctuations. From an investment and asset perspective, we're not an asset manager. I mean, that is people taking risk, and they're looking at this as any other asset class, and that is something that we really don't take much of a view on. I think it's important for us to say if people have invested and they want to transfer that into a network to buy something, buy a house with it, that we enable that, because in the end, we enable choice in payments. We don't really stand for cards. It could be real-time payments, it could be crypto, it could be anything for that matter.
Well, look, we all learned, look, Wall Street has always said, when you're short a stock, you can only make a certain amount of money, right? It can only go to zero, but you could lose an infinite amount. I just don't think most people thought about what an infinite amount means. And that's when GameStop went from 4 to 400. And, if these people were short, 2 million shares trying to make $2 million, and they lost, $800 million, which is unbelievable. So I think learning to watch retail investors, learning to understand retail investors, this isn't news. I mean, it may be news to these people, but it's not news. And I think what the retail investors showed is that, they have such power and such excitement. I mean, with all due respect, what's Tesla been? Why was Tesla up 6.6 times last year? It's because retail kept buying it. Why is Bitcoin where it is? Because retail keeps buying it. This is just another form of the same thing. GameStop was Bitcoin and Tesla. It's all the same thing.
You mentioned Bitcoin. I wonder what you think about the digital asset. There have been some big Wall Street names, Paul Tudor Jones, Jeff Gundlach just turned around on it, and some big companies as well, starting with, I think PayPal was the first really big one that caught my eye. Mastercard is another one. What do you think of it at Cantor?
Well, look, Bitcoin is an extraordinary retail product, right? That people are buying it and investing in it, and it can't really use it yet. It's just sort of a trading thing. And that's why I said it's kind of like Tesla. Tesla's not the world's greatest auto company, okay? Elon Musk is not the most brilliant person in the world. What he is retail keeps driving that stock up, and retail keeps driving Bitcoin up. And it's exciting. And but, you know, does it have a place and what's its worth? I have no idea. But I tell you what it is. It's exciting. It's in the hearts and minds of lots of people, and that drives value. And you need to understand that retail investors can drive value.